What is up, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Illinois Roundnet podcast. If you don't know already, we're at the end of the season, and we're going to talk about our justifications for the top 20 players rankings list. So, without further ado, what do you guys think? We start from the bottom or from the top?
I'm fine with either.
Yeah, maybe the bottom.
Okay.
Start
from the bottom.
Anticipation for number one.
All right. So, in the 20th spot, we have Chase Brimmer. Right. This was actually a close spot. We honorable mention, we had Colin Hobart also, who had almost the same number of points. But guys, let's talk about Chase and his game and kind of overview of why we put him at the top 20 spot and how he made this list.
I think for us in Illinois, Chase came out of nowhere. I had never played with him, never heard of him. He came to a couple pickups, immediately very consistent, just like a top spin serve like Tregan Hoodendorn, if anyone has played with him. But he has very good basics. I think his defense is on point. He's got very fast hands. He's very long too, so he covers a lot of net. So I think he's got like a good base to build up from. I think he just needs to work on his diversity of hitting, I think was a big one, and various serves, because it was always that same top spin serve.
Yep,
like 95% of the time.
Chase almost hits like a I wouldn't say like a women's serve because it comes in faster, but it's in terms of how low it comes, it's pretty surprising how low I think he can hit that his jam serve. And I think in terms of his overall remainder of his game, his defense, he's very quick to get to a ball and he knows where to be. His fundamentals are very pure, and I could see him doing better than 20 next season. But
yeah,
agree.
He likes to do everything with a pretty flat hand, I'd say. It's kind of funny. He likes to hit, set, kind of do everything mostly with a flat hand, which I honestly think helps his setting a lot. I think his setting is pretty solid. His serve is very consistent. Like you guys said, I think he needs to work on variety a little bit. But honestly, what probably impresses me the most is what Louis said about his hands are very quick on defense. Surprisingly quick for someone who's played at a higher level for like that short amount of time.
Good deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead, Wyatt.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, go on that. Came out of nowhere. I think he's from somewhere in like the southwest suburbs. So not always able to come out, but we appreciate it whenever he can. And I know, like, I played him in 2 tournaments in Glenview and the Chicago Challenger, and he was a pain in the butt in a good way. Definitely caused problems with his serves and this is overall game. We split our series. He took me and Mike Priller to two games that both went to extras, and the third place game in Glenview, and then he did beat me and Nick Ehart in Chicago with a mashup partner. So he's definitely got game, and like we've said, he's going to be probably be higher than 20 if he really grinds during the off season.
Yep, without a doubt. And we talked about the Glenview tournament. Nick Ehart and Chase actually played with another. Nick Ehart is our cover child for the 11 through 20 list. You'll see him when we actually post the rankings on our Instagram page. But Nick surprised me as well this season. He kind of another one of those guys that kind of just popped onto the scene. And it was funny. I played them in Glenview, and I think the quarterfinals. Him and Chase both, and it was cool to see the chemistry that they had, because I think a lot of the balls that I was pretty confident that were going to be putaways, I wasn't able to get past either of them, as a matter of fact. In terms of the remainder of his game, what do you guys think we could note on?
Say his serving is very similar to Chase's in that it's a lot of topspin. I know he's been working on a cut serve. He did come out of kind of nowhere for Illinois, but he was playing a decent amount in Alabama, where he goes to school at beforehand. So he did have some experience. And then when he first started playing with us, I'd say really wanted to like learn and get better very quickly. Solid all around, tall and lanky, which always helps with hitting and everything. And he loves laying out and diving everywhere, which helps on defense and hitting as well. So,
yep.
Yeah, I think last year he played in our Palatine tournament, and I think in the intermediate division, and then went back to school, grinded with like Sully Woodley and everyone else at the UAH club, and came back, was playing at an expert level. This summer, played at Glenview, played in Chicago. I believe he played in St. Charles as well with Corey Schneck. And they got to, I think they played out for 9th, and they got like 10th or 11th or something in that range. Team Illinois member, also worth noting. I think he was like 6th or 7th in the standings. by like a 0.2 for that matter. And yeah, his game's grown a lot. And I think he's the only person on this list who went to college nationals this year. Fun fact.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Nick was really fun to play with too. I think laying out isn't the only thing. Like on defense, he does that a lot on offense too. He goes for very tricky shots, which I like his commitment to that. And for the most part, it works out. So seeing those hard shots that are like guaranteed points and not being afraid to go and try it, especially during pickup when you have the opportunity to try, I think shows some of his like tenacity in practice to try to grind out some of those harder things you don't want to try out in a tournament or something.
Yep. I will note that him being so lanky, it definitely helps a lot with his serve receive. I don't know if I think that his ability to get to balls that other people wouldn't because they lack that length is pretty impressive as well. Glad to have him on the scene. And I guess if you guys don't have anything else to say about Nick, we could run and talk about the OG Mike Priller, who's been a part of Origin Roundnet and a part of Illinois Roundnet for quite some time. This guy comes out occasionally and will dust off the rust, and he did that at Glenview with Wyatt, and it's quite fun to watch. But
yeah, defense still really good at defense. Another long guy, tall guy, uses that height and wingspan to get a lot of good touches. And honestly, he surprised me at Glenview with how good his serve still looked. Definitely stole a couple points with some nice serves, both cuts that went a little wider than you would have thought, as well as some jams that really confused the serve receiver. And yeah, it was really fun playing with him. Hope to run it again with him, and another good Team Illinois member right there.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd say Mike's current standings on the ranking is probably accurate. Like if he were to come out to pick up right now, but I'd say if he were to come out to pick up and play once or twice a week for like a month and a half, then he'd probably shoot pretty high up because right now he's just a little rusty with like serving, setting, and hitting. But if he were to just like play a couple more pickups, I'd say all of them would become very consistent. And
Yep.
I've seen Mike when he's practicing a lot, and he's very solid all around.
Yeah, I would say the amount that guy has played, you don't really lose that kind of tenacity and the ability to just be solid all the way around and be consistent. And I think that agreed. If he came out and played for a bit of time, even he'd jump up the rankings, and we'd have to remake this list all over. Louis, did you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, Mike was one of the first like competitive people I played with and against when he was still playing with Dobb. And even like playing defense against him and not having played for a while, his lankiness was hitting shots that I didn't even think I should try to cover because I was like, he can't do that. And he was still very much great drops, great flicks in places that, didn't even think he would be trying to do on defense. But yeah, overall, just super fun to go against, and I think would shoot up, like you guys said, if he played once a week for a month.
Yeah, Mike loves the mega wraps and the flick shots for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. All right. So I didn't tell you guys about this, but in this segment where we encounter someone who's actually in the chat with us, who's actually
overrated
recording
guy
with us, I think the proper thing to do is to ask them to remove their headphones, and we're just going to talk mad about them.
Okay.
We can go headphones off, or we can go headphones on. It's up to you guys. I don't know whether or not we're going to release this audio to some sort of platform, and it would be I think it'd be fun to have whoever's being talked about to remove their headphones. What do you guys agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, Wyatt, will you politely remove your headphones, please?
Yeah. Bye, guys.
All right.
Bye. This guys. Yeah. Wyatt, super fun to play with, super solid. Only like true lefty in all of Illinois.
Matthew Greathouse.
Oh yes, great house. Okay. True. Haven't played with him in a while, but yeah, Wyatt. When I first played with him, I think his serving has gotten a lot better. It's just as consistent, but the left does cause a lot of problems. Still gives a lot of players running into brackets when they don't play against people like him. So yeah, and he hits very low.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd say in the past year, Wyatt's gotten a lot better at defense, and his serving, like Louis said, is very consistent. I think he focuses a lot on just consistent serving, but in the past year, it's become higher quality and still very consistent.
Yep.
So it causes a lot of problems. It's very solid. It'll be very low, and it'll definitely ace you if you're not expecting it. It might go surprisingly wide if you're not expecting it.
Mhm.
And his hitting over the net is also very solid with very low flick shots and push shots, I'd say.
Yep, those are the two things that I would have mentioned as well. Is that, I mean, aside from Wyatt having been playing for who knows how long at this point, he does have that jam serve that'll catch you off guard if you're not paying attention, and especially the fact that it comes so low, it's definitely harder to receive if you're not way underneath it. And he also has the ability to go wide. The occasional right-handed serve as well. Not super high percentage in terms of that, but he gets it off when he gets it off, and he does have that really nasty drop that'll pop out every once in a while. And I do agree, his hitting over the net would just catch you off guard. You didn't think that he had those squares, he didn't have that shot, but yeah, Wyatt all around deserving of that spot. He is also one of our Team Illinois members. He got it this summer, and we're glad to have him, and he can come back in now. Yeah, and I just can't believe he's even on this list. It's ridiculous.
I can't believe it either.
I did tell everyone that you are one of the Team Illinois members. I remembered to do that this time.
Thanks.
In case we forgot, Mike
my
Miller,
one
also
thing-
a Team
my
Illinois player.
You know who's
Yes.
not Team Illinois? Ethan Datweiler at number 16.
Shade.
That's one way to introduce it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to play with Ethan at pickup this weekend. We were indoors at Canline Libertyville, and he played with his partner Chris Place as Team Purple Rainbows, and we just playing around pickup. And oh my gosh, these guys are freaking OGs. They're so good. And first time I ever played pickup with Ethan, I thought it was going to be just a casual pickup, and I thought I was going to smoke everybody. And I walked in, and he hits a cut serve on me that I was like, oh wow, the people in Chicago have things to do with Roundnet. So it was pretty crazy. Yeah, Ethan, great all around, has the ability to go both cut and reverse, can pull out the left occasionally as well. He has a pretty nasty backhand that I know a couple of people have been aced with, even this weekend. And I'll let you guys talk a little bit more about the rest of his game.
I mean, Neil
Yeah,
played a season with him, so you can take it away, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my former partner, played with him pretty recently and still very solid all around. He's focusing a little bit more on other recreational sports instead of Roundnet. So I'd say he's in a similar place to Mike, where he's just a little rusty. But if he were to come back and play just once, twice a week for a little while, then he would shoot up the rankings just like Mike. Pretty consistent serving, still very solid setting for having not played too much recently. And his hitting and serving and serve receive would all snap right back in a couple of weeks if he were to play consistently.
Mhm.
But yeah, still very fun to play with, and very athletic, likes to run around, play defense.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know he got me with a couple serves that I did not expect to jump as far as they did back on Saturday. Both of the cut, and I think he hit me with one of his classic backhands too, which you'd think by now I would know how to stop that, but still can't get on
Mhm.
top of that consistently as I'd like to.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall his game's just, he's been playing so long. He knows what he's doing, and he'll make you pay if you show any weakness or anything like that.
I think one of the qualities of a player that's played a lot of pickup and a quality of a player that has played for a decent amount of time is one of the measurables is their ability to get a ball back from a rundown, and the ability to control that first touch, second touch, and if the second touch isn't the best, the ability to get it back on the net. And Ethan really has an awesome ability to be able to get the ball back from deep, whether he's the setter or he's the one that takes that first touch, and always impresses me with that. So unless you guys have anything else, Louis, did you have anything?
Yeah, I think the first time I played with Ethan, it was just like I first met him. He was like, "Can you help me warm up surfing?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, this is a guy." And then he was like, "Oh, you could actually surf." And I was just like trying to reach for balls and stuff.
Same.
But yeah, but I do think that one thing that Ethan does well outside of like actual gameplay, he's very vocal. Whenever I played with him about what needs to be fixed and trying to implement it fast, it happens in Ultimate when we play together as well. But just being like, "Hey, they're hitting this way. We should try doing it this." Or if I'm rotating here, follow me here, and like wanting to fix it in game rather than like let's play a whole pickup session where you get bad reps because you're not fixing anything. So I do think the biggest hindrance is just his body is getting injured when he plays and stuff. But yeah, love playing with that guy.
Yeah, I'd say just like based off what Louis said, I think that comes with being like an OG like he is. Like he adjusts very quickly to different things. Like if he gets beat by some crazy cut, he's not going to get beat by that cut again unless you throw fakes in or hit a crazy reverse or something. Like he adjusts to the game very quickly.
Yep.
And a great coach of the game too. I know, like last year, especially when he was at pickups more. Anytime we had a newer person come out or someone less experienced, like he was the one really stepping up and like teaching them the fundamentals and whatever else they were looking to improve on.
Yep. Totally agree. I've experienced that firsthand. He is a very great coach and a very great leader within the community. And it's sad that he's exploring other opportunities, but either way, when he's around, we're glad to have him. I think from here, one of the spots was taken up by Veer Sakant, who's at spot number 15. He's a player for University of Illinois Champaign, and he is one of those guys that I think the ability to grind with people at college and kind of push yourself in that way. He's definitely stepped up over the past couple of years, and he's actually a native of Boston, but he spends enough time here over in Illinois that we would consider him an Illinois Roundnet player. Guys, have you played Veer recently, or what do we have to say about that guy?
So personally, I don't think I can talk much about him. I've actually never played him or never even seen him play in person. So I'll leave this to you guys.
I don't have much more to add to that. I think I played him at the Chicago tour stop in 2021 when he was playing with Chris Capter, and he definitely was good then, but I know he's probably gotten so much better. I saw a little bit of him playing at the Inventors Cup in Barrington in April, and he's a tall dude, knows how to use his height and his serves and hits. But outside of that, I just, he seems really good, and he's playing a lot with a really good club at U of I. So, he's grinding, but I'll let one of you guys handle the actual specifics of his gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, because Gavin's probably played with him the most, but I've played with him against him before from 2020, 2021 and all that. But I think the only reason he's not higher on this list is, outside of like you guys having not played with him, is because of his injury in the very beginning of the season where he like destroyed his hand. Because I think he'd be like, with the grinding over the summer and stuff, I think he could have been top 10 and been premier this year, but got injured. But very deadly server. Like everyone knows, he's a serving kind of guy, but also very much good fundamentals outside of that. Just I think the injury this season didn't let him get to the ceiling that he could have easily had. And with a full season playing college and grinding, I think he's going to shoot up to top 10. I think he could easily see it out of him. Only reason that I think he's down there is because of that this year.
Yeah, I think the from an exposure standpoint, because Veer's from Boston, he lives at U of I when he's in Illinois. He doesn't have the opportunity to play with all of us that much, so not everybody's had the opportunity to see him play. When he has played, I think he has an outstanding righty cut. He's still getting his reverse down. Actually, no, last time I saw him, his reverse was pretty solid in comparison to the times past, but he also has a pretty nasty lefty cut. I remember him saying that his lefty cut was his favorite skill inside the game of Roundnet. He has been injured quite a few times. He injured his hand, and then after that was in his push for Premier last year or this year, and we were hoping that he was going to get it, but ended up hurting his hand. Afterwards, he ended up injuring recently his he pulled a muscle in his ankle or something like that. But I think had he not had those injuries, I think he would be a clear candidate for a premier spot. I'm going to give Veer a hard time because I think other than his serving, his serve receive ability, because of his lankiness and because of his hitting, his game needs some improvement. I think that he could set a little bit better, and I think his defense could be a little bit better, but only time will tell how much better that guy can get. And I think he's got a really, really high ceiling, and hope to see him competing in the Premier Division next season. And hopefully he doesn't get injured over and over again. And so he's also not a Team Illinois member.
Shade.
So
to be fair, though, we only played in one tournament because he lives in Boston.
Yeah.
Fair enough. One thing I'll say about Veer is, you'll see later on the list, but I think he's somewhat similar to Hudson Ford before he started playing pickup with us, to where he just was able to grind a lot of serves and became very solid on the serving line. but was lacking a little bit in some other fundamentals of serve receive, setting, hitting, just like kind of everything else that you need, in my opinion, to like play a good amount of pickup, to like improve and everything with people who are better than you. So yeah, I would say if Veer were to play a lot more high quality pickup, then he'd probably shoot up the list pretty quickly.
Yep, agreed with that. Yep. All right, so this is a guy that I'm pretty familiar with, Jason Hieronymus at number 14. I'll let you guys talk your stuff about him before I get into it, but yeah, Jason Hieronymus, guys.
Yeah, I've played against Jason and with Jason a little bit. I know he was your partner prior. He's also Veer's partner prior to as well. I think a lot like Veer, it was like a big serving game. But what I saw with Jason a lot more was he was getting better at setting defense and hitting. Like he had that a bit, I guess, a step up compared to Veer's basics and consistency. And I think the only reason he's again lower is because he didn't play a single tournament. He isn't really playing in college, from my understanding, too much and stuff. So I think that there might just be some rust there in terms of him just like choosing not to play that often or anymore. But I'm sure if he took the college season, would be a great player again, and still probably is, but would be higher on this list.
Yeah, I'd say Jason. I think he comes from a pitching background in baseball, which helped with a lot of the power in serving. He developed a very solid, or at first he had a very solid righty cut, and then he was working on righty and lefty cut, and then he started trying to like somewhat model his game after Fred and Rahul, where he really wanted to develop a righty cut and righty reverse, and he did, and they were both very solid. He became very deadly from the service line. Um, his consistency wasn't always the best, but he did improve a lot when he started playing more pickup with us with his serve receive setting, hitting, and defense. And yeah, I haven't played with him in a while, but the last time I played with him, everything was very solid or was becoming more and more solid all around.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with those things. Yeah, Jason and I very fond of each other in our games together. I think one of the things he's gotten better at even through his kind of lull of playing is he's even better at body defense than he was before. His ability to run down balls and play body defense has always been pretty decent, but I think it's improved somehow through his time off. He still is able to hit that kind of Texas stance righty and righty cut serve and righty reverse cut serve, and I haven't seen him pull out the left too much. I played him at a tournament probably a couple months ago, and I think if he's one of those guys that if he went out and started playing a little bit more again, I think he'd be right back up near the top of the list. Maybe at least clear the top 10. But yeah, nothing less than good things to say about the guy, because he was the guy that I got Premier with. Anyways, yeah. And yeah, it's a shame that he's not Team Illinois this year.
Get him back on the grind.
So lucky number 13 is actually in the video call with us. That's our native Louis Simajan. So I'll ask you to take off those headphones, and
I'm eating my
now
sandwich.
you
I'm
can
muting myself.
He's gonna eat my sandwich. Back to my sandwich, says Louis. Let's talk about how this guy has developed over the last couple months. Summer, he moved over and played a lot of Chicagoland Roundnet with you guys while I was a couple hours away. So I'll let you do the talking and then talk about his humble beginnings afterwards.
Yeah, he's definitely one of, if not the top, like, breakout player of this year. And, really just showing, how much grinding for a good year or so can improve your game. When he started playing with us, he wasn't a huge serving threat. He was good at defense and, solid all around, but now he's definitely got left and right cuts that can cause some problems. He's got even better defense, both body, chase downs, whatever. And, his hitting's gotten a lot better. So he's always a really good player at any pickups or tournaments. Obviously, he got second in Glenview with Wilkins, taking down me and Mike in the semis. So I got a firsthand look at how good he was there. And, a lot of other good results. I think he got quarters in St. Charles with Jacob Yu. And him and Andy, I think, got to either the quarters or round of 16 in the STS Challenger in Chicago as well. A couple other solid results as well. But yeah, definitely have loved seeing all the improvement from him this year.
Yeah, I'd say when I first started playing with Louis, I think he came from practicing with you, Gavin, a decent amount. And I'd say he was like the opposite of a serve bowler in a sense. Like he is very consistent at putting the ball on, and then was very consistent with setting and hitting and like all the fundamentals of the game. And I think he somewhat prided himself on that. And I absolutely loved playing with him because I love just getting the ball on and then just playing defense. And I would apply some service pressure, and then we would just play consistent and win a lot. And then I think he went to a couple tournaments and noticed that you really need a good amount of service pressure to get premier. And then he started grinding his serves a little more, and now he has developed a very solid righty and lefty cut, and will still occasionally just put the ball on and play defense, and is just very solid all around.
Yeah, I think one of the things that stood out with Louis for me is when I had started playing, he had already been in for like a year and a half. And the way that he described the game, he was always so visceral about where he was on defense and how he wanted to react to the hitter. And I think that from a purely cognitive perspective, his head was always in the right place. From an execution perspective, I think he didn't always have the ability to get there. And I think having played so much more high level ball with the Chicagoland players, I think he's been able to kind of refine that and pick up his defense even more. And that's something that shows inside his game quite a bit. He gets the very good defensive ups in many cases. And again, his serving game has stepped up so much. And one thing that I'll note is his recovery setting was absolute dog crap when I first met him. I'm just messing. But no, he's improved so much on his ability to get the ball back to the net from a rundown play. And that's one of the things that definitely makes a difference in terms of getting those breaks that you need. And yeah, I what more to say about the guy than he's also an awesome person. But
yeah,
with that being said,
And special shout out, he's one of two people to have played in every Chicagoland Tour Series event this year.
So what does that make
And
him?
then a MVP of community members.
No, he's a Team Illinois member.
Oh, well, that too, yeah. Sorry, I couldn't remember if we said that or not. But yeah, yeah, he had some good results in the 3 events he played in, especially Glenview, and he is a member of Team Illinois as a result, with I think the 4th most points.
And as a matter of fact, only 9 of the Team Illinois members ended up making the top 20 list. Some of the players that are inactive or, for lack of better, I guess, not part of the community or haven't played in the tournaments that are in the Chicagoland area. They filled up those spots, and one of them got shoved off. So one of the people that's kind of been in, well, actually a little bit more active this season than I guess we would have expected. Chris played with Ethan Datweiler as Purple Rainbows, and talk about another OG of the sport and just a great attitude, and love to have him around. So let's talk about Chris's game, guys.
And get Louis back in here.
I'm
back in
here.
he was not. Yeah.
Locked in.
Chris Place. When I first ever played with him, I just heard he was like an OG. Didn't know anything about him, and it was a super like unbelievably windy day. One of the windiest days I've ever played pickup. And after not playing for however long, he came back and just like thrived in the wind, just because he had so much experience playing as like an OG baller in the heavy wind, and has developed his game immensely since then in terms of everything: serve, receive, serving, hitting. His setting has always been very solid. Like OG players, in my opinion, just a lot of them are just very consistent, solid, smart setting. But yeah, when he first came back, he didn't know how to receive a cut serve, so he ran up to the net and bodied it, and it actually worked a lot of the time. He would just put the ball on like Chris Hornacek serve, but soft, just like a put on serve, and would just play defense. And yeah, amazing player to play defense with, very solid all around.
Good person to live with, as his roommate. But yeah, like Neil said, I think Chris is one of the people, like even just playing this weekend with him, the way that he like was easy like to read the open spots after a funnel on defense and be there, and get like a touch on it and then convert point, or at least give a chance, was great. And he's one of those players who likes playing defense more than he likes trying to get the point on a serve. Right.
Oh,
like, yeah.
Loves defense.
Loves defense, loves running around, loves a good rally. and so like his second serve is usually on, can trick you with maybe like that straight old school volleyball tomahawk swing straight into the front pocket. But yeah, and his hitting super smart. Can read defense on the fly in any shift and immediately just push it past you or wrap it around you. Even if you have a good scheme.
Yep. I would say that one
Yeah.
thing that strikes me about Chris's game is that it's just how comfortable he is in any given position, in any given situation. He just seems like there's no pressure. It's always lighthearted, but you know he's going to play hard. Like I like even at the service line, he just has a sort of calmness about him that is like it seems like it'd be hard to replicate. In terms of his overall game, all the measurables, his ability to set the ball back to the net, the ability to play a strong offensive attack, the ability to, I mean, his serving has adapted, I think, over the past couple of years. I know you guys can attest to that. And I think being an adaptable player, even as an OG, is so huge in this era of Roundnet. And even if he's only getting a couple pickups or a couple tournaments a year, he's still grinding along and picking up new things, and old dog does learn new tricks. So
Yeah, just to touch on how OG he is. He's been around the game longer than me. He's been playing since like 2014 or 15. Not even consecutively. Like he's taken a year off here and there, but he always comes back, still balling, still playing great defense, great high round net IQ. It's just incredible. And even like we said, he loves playing defense more than serving, but he'll surprise you with a serve here and there that'll just catch you by surprise. I think Saturday he was even trying out some like serve from like 10 feet away from the net, and it was actually hitting kind of good when he did hit it. So yeah, it's crazy to think, but he gets it done. It's honestly kind of like our own version of Buddy Hammond, where he just plays great defense, not focused on getting aces every serve, and not afraid to put the ball on and just try to read the hitters as best he can.
that's not a bad parallel, actually. But yeah. All right, yeah. So a player that I've only played pickup with once at the number 11 spot is Matthew Greathouse. And I think Matt he was actually at he was on ESPN with Kyle Ackerman, is that right?
Yeah, not playing together, but
Right.
so he back when he was at Clemson, he was on one of the lost season broadcasts.
Yeah.
He was, I think Jeremy Lutz was his partner, I want to say.
They played a
at
game
Clemson.
against each other, right? I think okay.
I think he probably played OSU, which was Kyle Ackerman and
Nick LaPrinzi?
Nick LaPrinzi. Yeah, one of the
Right.
LaPrinzi brothers. But yeah, Greathouse is a fellow lefty. So he's one of my boys just strictly for that reason. Really good lefty cut. Like we said, he hasn't played a ton. I mean, I think he did play in he actually might have played in all of our tournaments now that I think about it. But yeah, he's got a really strong lefty cut. He started adding a righty cut, I think last year and kind of going into this year. And just really good overall game. He loves the hustle on defense too. So if you hit something like 20 feet in the air, no matter how hard it was, he'll have a shot at getting it. Solid setter, so he can get it back to, and pretty fast, so he can get back to the net and chase down balls. And really good overall player. Hope we get to see some of him at pickup over the winter and into next year, because he's also just a great dude and really good player. Actually qualified for Premier at Nationals last year when him and Trevor Hugendorn got third in contender in like a 90 team contender division, just to put that in perspective.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think the biggest part too, you can't like not have fun when you play with that. Like it's always just a good time.
Yeah.
And I think that just makes the game, like that's the importance of the game overall, right? Is that just like enjoying your time there. And he's just so consistent for the most part that like you're just having a good time. You're not really worried about much. You're just playing the game, enjoying what's going on. And I think that's a great quality. And one that maybe we don't talk about too much because it's not like a finite skill, but just always a good time with Matt on the net.
Yeah. I don't really have too much to add. Very consistent overall. Solid or very consistent serving, solid receive, setting, hitting, defense. Always a good time playing with him. Yeah.